I was on court the other day with one of my students, and what we were doing was quite a, intense movement drill where we were ghosting and lobbing, moving into that back and then moving to the front, which is quite a common pattern. You might move to the back, someone might play that volley drop, and you need to get in there and hit that lob and get yourself reset. So it's a little analysis and to try help them out with some of the technical things. But anyone that is watching, please do click in the link in the description, grab your free swing audit. I would love to help you out with your game as much as possible. Okay, so I've got at that point where where we're both making contact at around about the same point, and I'll zoom in and zoom out as we go. And there's a few fundamental things that I think I was doing different to my students, Kai, on the left here. So I'll run it. I'll run it from this little point. Let's have a little look. It's not going to be exactly when the more we run it, but we'll start to notice a couple of things that as we're doing this, what's happening with our swings and our shots. I'll just do one more and then I'll break it down and we'll go back again. Okay, so let's go back to maybe a few before this. So let's go back to possibly this one here. And I did another video of Kai's lobs, and this is where we're going to have a little look at. So I'm going to zoom in now because I do want to actually talk about the ghosting in a second. And I think that this right now is, pretty good angle or something that we're going to look at. So let's look at the height of the rackets. So you can just see it coming over the tip of Kai's head there. Just zoom in. You can just see that racket. Again, I'll just toggle it so you can see what I mean. And look at the difference with mine. My top of my racket is probably around about there. So everything for me feels a lot lower. What I like about this angle as well is notice where my elbow is compared to where Kai's is. Kai is pulling his elbow back. There's a little bit of a drop of the shoulder. What he's showing me here now is as if there's a little bit of power. The racket's a little bit higher. The angle of the shoulders is a little bit more aggressive. That elbow is back a little bit more. And that's not conducive for playing a lob. Because what we need to do is when we get to that lob, we need to reset the rally. We need to have that ball hanging in the air. We need to slow it right down. And I'll just go to this because this might help a little bit in the next bit. We lunge relatively the same. But looking at Kai on the left there, look how many moving parts his racket has. There are so many moving parts. There's a lot going on. There's a big movement there. And to be able to soften the ball up and feel it and, hang it up in the air when there's all these moving parts ain't going to happen too well. He does well to get his racket in an optimal position there. Like he really drops it back and he really works hard to drop it there. But again, it's moving too quick, isn't it? It won't be able to soften it up. I think we lunge pretty similar. We're in a good position lunge-wise. And at that moment, we're looking quite similar. But the backstory of what's happened to get to that point is where, the problem starts. As we're getting there, let's have a look. I need to just go a little bit forward with Kai's to make sure. See, that's a really nice contact point, like where he's contacting you, how he's reaching it, all pretty good in that sense. But let's have a look here now. Let's look at the difference. Again, if I can probably catch it on the front wall. Okay, so there's Kai's shot on the front wall. And there's mine. I'm just going to try and get that together. There's mine. I can't zoom out any more than that. So we're not too dissimilar from where we're hitting the front wall. But one of the key things that I talk a lot about, and it's really hard when you are close to the front wall, is getting elevation. So if I just go back a little bit, the elevation from the racket to the front wall is fundamentally essential. And again, this is probably not going to be a true reflection of it. I'm going to probably manipulate it here. Maybe Kai is around about there, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get a steeper angle from my racket face to where that front wall is. And there's something I want to show you that I noticed in this other video when we were looking at the lob from a different angle, and it's on the channel if you guys and girls want to see it. Watch his follow through. He doesn't quite lift it up. There's a little bit where he goes across. And actually, it's quite interesting there now. If you notice that his wrist is becoming quite cocked and that racket head is up. Whereas if you notice mine, it's a bit of a paddle. I'm going there, the ball's out in front of me. Look at how I'm flicking and using my forearm, my rolling of the wrist to throw that ball up into the sky. Me, that little turn there, that you can see there, the racket butt is in that, racket butt looking toward the front wall at the moment. And then when I finish, the whole racket butt is now inverted and is looking in the opposite direction. So there's this quite cute little movement that I really encourage people to do the lobs with. It's not about the moving parts and the mechanics back here so much. I think back there, you want to keep it really, really simple, as in what you can see from me here. And so much about the success of this is that little turn. And if you just look at Kai there, that forearm, that turn, it's just not as cute. It's just not really working too well. Little side notes, his grip looks a little bit fist-like. It doesn't quite have that lead finger that's separating from everything else. So that's something there to maybe look at. Okay, so let me maybe go through to another one, and I might bring the ghost in as well, because what we were trying to do is we were trying to incorporate quite a lot of movement with this, and actually quite interesting how we both come out of that. Let's just notice this. Let's just have a quick little look at this while we're here. Yeah, it's interesting. Look at Kai's back foot. He has to like rebalance, not quite strong enough in the lunge, whereas my back foot slides nicely close together. I'm nice and compact. I'm loaded up on that knee and that quad, and all of that energy is pushing me out nicely now. Whereas Kai there is having to rebalance, readjust, hasn't quite got the optimal position there in the leg, and balance to come out. And you just notice his body position, and there is not quite right, is it? It's just a little bit messy, a bit wrong, a bit sloppy. That sounds a bit harsh, but just for the sake of that, that's not sloppy on purpose, just not quite getting it right. And then look at how the movement back is not quite optimized. Okay, and then let's go into the ghost position, because I'm quite interested to see what goes on there. Let's have a look here. Yeah, look at Kai's back foot there. And again, even that lunge, it's quite an interesting way that foot goes down, and there's a lot of energy going through that ankle in that position. I'd be a little bit worried if doing that all the time. There's a lot there. There's a lot of strain. Look, he's young. He can probably get away with this for now. But if you just notice my lunge there, yes, there's going to be that slight, energy going through the ankle. But let's notice how when I'm swinging, my back foot drags, everything's compact, everything's in a nice place. Let's just make sure we're like similar. So it's possibly around about as the racket's coming past the knee there, around about the contact point would be there. So if we just go back a little bit, see if you can spot the differences here. We've already kind of given you a couple, but yeah, it just looks like there's a lot of, wasted energy, and then it's like really hard for him to come out there. And look, this takes a bit of time, a bit of training, getting those muscles and those legs slightly stronger. But the ability to do shot in a ghost and move and incorporate your shots in this, I think is really, really powerful. So as I'm hitting, everything feels optimized. I'm moving back to the tee, springing off, and let's go into the other one, because we're going to look at one more shot and one more ghost. Yeah, look how early I'm approaching it with this low racket position. That's really nice. I'm pushing the racket out in front of me. I'm not pulling that elbow back. Kai has got a good, what I would call a very good setup, but not for a lob. A good traditional setup. He's getting that arm across. Yes, it's probably smaller than his normal swing, but look at how his elbow goes back. And again, let me just make sure we get it to the right contact points. So I'm going to do it slightly different where the heel hits the ground. I quite like that one as well as a bit of a comparison. And we'll just go back a few there. So our heels are hitting the ground at the same point. You can just see there, like I'm trying to push my racket forward. I'm trying to keep things low. Kai is keeping it relatively low. And we did a bit of coaching. So I think he'd improved a little bit at this point. Let me kind of get it to that position there. And yeah, he does well to reach there, but late on that maybe. But I actually like what I'm seeing there. He's definitely a lot lower. Doesn't quite get it. It's a little bit of a scramble. Whereas there, I'm reaching forward. I'm throwing that ball up. Actually, really interesting. Okay, no, he didn't quite get it, but I actually hit that rolling ball. Like there's a ball just there that I hit, and Kai almost hits his one there. Again, I think my racket just catches it, so it just skews it a bit. But what I want to also point out here again as well, I think that's a common pattern. Look at the finishing position. Look at how Kai's movement, again, is slightly compromised. His back foot is sliding up, but it's sliding up, but then taking a bit of a diversion. It's not quite in the right position, and it just is not quite as neat to come out there. Whereas when I finished, that follow through has gone up a little bit. And by the way, with the follow through for the lob, it's not an exaggerated up one there. I don't think you can afford to do that. For me, I talk a lot about, just like I've already said, just this little turn, almost like a little flick, a little paddle, and just looking for that elevation. Look how that racket head and that racket face, is looking up and open. Doesn't need to be a crazy big swing, especially when you're under pressure. I don't actually think you can afford a big swing, a big follow through, not necessarily a swing. More about just getting that quick little elevation so the ball moves off the strings at a nice high angle. And we'll just look at one more go. So there, you can just see there as I'm hitting, like all of all of the, that knee is taking and that quad is taking the energy. It's loaded. It's pushing off in a nice position. I can push back relatively easy. And again, this is about the same point because we both lunged at the same point. And look how I'm back through a bit more explosive into this position. Let's have a look at the lunge. And again, considering that we both hit our heel at the same point there, look at the difference now of like how much later Kai is in that position. I'm out, I'm through, I'm already back on the tee, I'm pushing up, ball comes out. Let me just get the ball out of the machine at the same point. Again, I love to make sure that we like, on a similar level here. And let me just go back a bit. Yeah, you can just see the difference there. Like, so the balls come out the machine at the same point. So using that as our benchmark, if you look at me on the right here with my ghosting, I'm in, lunge, hits, and gone. I'm transferring that body weight. Kai is just a few milliseconds behind, all a little bit late. I'm at the tee there. I've got a little bit of time to slow down. Kai might just have to scramble and just run through. I can pause a little bit, and then we'll use this as the last one. Again, you started to see some similar things, similar patterns develop. I'm getting there in that position. Again, here we go. Look at that. Look at the height of the racket compared to the height of the racket there. That's a big, big difference. I know I'm probably a little bit there earlier now, so it might not be a true reflection, but I've got down. I'm able to get under the ball, elevated. Look at that angle. I'm going off the strings. Let's just take a look at Kai's angle. Yeah, there we go. Let me just, I think this could be really cool. So if I just get this, let's just have a look at the angle. So if I'm doing that, no, kind of thinking his angles are out about there. And then if I'm just going to mine, let's kind of just for the eye, there we go. Think that angle. I think that's quite interesting. Again, I've been as accurate as I can there, but there's the difference, isn't it? 48 degrees, 38 degrees, not going to be exact science to degrees, but what I'm using this for is how much it's coming up versus Kai's there. So listen, hopefully a few good tips there that you can think about your game, think about how you're lobbing from that front backhand corner. And if you can go work on that, practice that. I'm always going to say this, do it without the ball. Get it right, get it perfect. Don't have the distraction of the ball in play. Because when you do, things get a little bit wrong. There's a few glitches. But when you allow yourself to ghost it and mimic it, then you put the ball in play. That's where the magic starts to happen. So listen, thank you very much, everyone. Love doing these. Please do share and subscribe to the channel. Please spread the word. Click on the link in the description. Grab your free swing audit. Very happy to help out. And while you're at it, why not check out the squash playbook? Okay, take care, everyone. I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye.